Hey, welcome to The Explainer. This is where we break down some really big ideas.
Okay, so what if you could build a story out of a geometric shape? I know, it sounds like something straight out of sci-fi, right? But today, we're going to dive into this amazing idea that actually merges language with the clean, perfect lines of geometry.
All right, so to really get our heads around this, we need to look at the two main ingredients. And at first glance, you're going to think these two things have absolutely nothing to do with each other.
So, on one side, you've got the Serbian Cyrillic alphabet. That's a set of 30 distinct letters. Simple enough. And on the other side, we have the tetrahedron. Now, if you're not a geometry buff, don't worry. It's basically the simplest 3D shape you can make. Think of a pyramid, but with a triangle for a base. 4 identical triangular faces, that's it.
Okay, so you've got your letters, you've got your shape. What happens when you smash them together? Well, this is where it gets kind of mind-blowing, and the numbers get big, fast.
Right, so the basic idea is to create something called a lettered tetrahedron. And it's super simple. You just take one letter from that alphabet of 30 and you stick it on one of the 4 faces. You do that for all 4 faces and boom, suddenly each little tetrahedron is its own unique packet of 4 letters.
So that naturally leads to the big question, right? You've got 30 letters to play with and you have 4 faces to put them on. How many completely unique combinations can you actually create?
So here are our 2 key pieces of the puzzle. We've got our pool of 30 letters, and we've got the 4 faces on our shape. Now here's the crucial part. You can reuse letters. So you could have a tetrahedron with the letter A on all 4 of its faces, for example. And that's where the possibilities just explode.
Yeah, think about it like this. For that first face, you have 30 different letters you could pick. For the second face, you still have 30 choices. Same for the third and same for the fourth. So the math is pretty straightforward. It's just 30 times 30 times 30 times 30.
And what does that give you? A whopping 810,000 unique lettered tetrahedrons. That's insane. From just 30 letters and one little shape, you've created this massive library of almost 1 million different building blocks.
And you know, a number that big is kind of hard to picture. So the original source gives us this really cool, poetic way to think about it. Imagine 30 big cities, one for each letter. Now inside each of those cities, picture 27,000 little tents. That's the kind of scale we're talking about here. It's just immense.
Okay, so we've got this gigantic library of almost 1 million blocks. That's great, but they're just individual pieces, right? How do you actually connect them? How do you turn this pile of 810,000 shapes into, a story? Well, the goal here is to create what the source calls an unbreakable chain. The idea is to link these little tetrahedrons together, one after another, to make a continuous, flowing text.
And this isn't just random. There's a process. First, each little shape is marked with its 4-letter combo. Then, there's a specific set of rules. They call it 3 degrees of connection that decides which shapes are allowed to connect to each other. So based on these rules, the tetrahedrons link up and they start forming this continuous chain of text. It's almost like they're words snapping together to form a sentence.
But and this is a big but, this is where the whole thing gets really interesting. It's not just about making one long straight line of text. The geometry of it all allows for something way more dynamic. See, one of these little lettered blocks might be allowed to connect to several different blocks that come after it. So what does that mean? It means the text can branch. The story can split off into multiple different paths. It's basically a built-in choose-your-own-adventure style narrative.
And this is just brilliant. From a creative standpoint, these branches don't just trail off forever. They can actually loop back and reconnect to earlier points in the chain. This lets you create these amazing cyclical structures. Think about it. You could literally build a poem where the refrain pops up naturally because it's baked into the geometry of the system. Recurring themes in a story could be hardwired right in.
So, okay, we've got this really elegant, really complex system for making text out of shapes. It's cool, but what's the point? I mean, what can you actually do with a universe of text built from tetrahedrons? Well, it turns out the possibilities are surprisingly huge. You could use it for generative literature, creating endless poems or nonlinear stories that you could just explore forever. Or what about as an inspiration tool for a writer with writer's block? The system could spit out these unexpected but totally valid story connections.
For linguists, it's a completely new way to visualize how language is structured. And of course, for cryptography, anytime you have a system that links symbols with complex, hidden rules, that's a potential goldmine for making super strong codes.
But really, at the end of the day, this idea is so much more than just a clever thought experiment. It really challenges us to look for the hidden patterns, the hidden architecture in everything around us. I mean, if something as messy and human as language can be mapped onto a perfect geometric shape, what other secret structures define our world? It kind of leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What else is built on a secret geometry we just haven't seen yet?